John, thank you for joining us on Conversations of Hope.
Thank you for having me, Sean.
And I understand that you've been on the podcast circuit and doing video blogs and Instagram Live. And, you know, what are the questions that you're getting from everyone who is rightfully concerned about what's going on with this pandemic that we're in right now?
Well, one of the things I start with is I remind people that, you know, there are decades when not much is happening. And then there are weeks when decades are happening. And we're kind of in that place where there's so much happening and yet there's no certainty. And so it becomes very uncomfortable for many, many people. And yet there is a lot of certainty. We've been overfed by the media regarding the biological contagions and underinformed about the psychological or emotional contagions. You know, the worry, the fear, the rumors, you know, all this conformity with hoarding and doing various kinds of things that really, that's what's much more, I think, divisive and difficult for us. It's the dis-ease, not the disease.
Right.
If we could just get a handle on the psychological and emotional component, I think it probably would help us most.
We're spending a lot of time in our homes with our spouses or with our children, with our families, probably more time than we're used to.
Yeah,
a lot of us. And what is your recommendations for maybe how we get through the course of the day with each other?
Well, again, there's an old saying that's this is really a question. Who does so-and-so think they are? Who does this coronavirus think it is? Who does my spouse think they are? The answer is always your teacher. Your teacher. So we're being taught so much. I hope we really don't get through this. You know, people are talking about, there's an expiration date to this, and let's get through this. Trump is saying maybe it'll be Easter, but too many people are trying to get through this. I hope we don't get through this. I hope what I mean by that is I hope that we learn some lessons through this and that we don't get through this. The world and the universe is pushing reset, and there are opportunities galore now and in the future in this reset. Hopefully we won't go back to some of the things that we've done. You know, there are 30 to 40 million people in the United States every year that suffer the flu. Right. And of that, 50,000 die. It may be that we start rethinking shaking hands and maybe some of our social distancing. And in our relationships at home, since we're spending more time together, things are being revealed there. Maybe there's a deficiency in our ability to really seek to understand. Maybe we would prefer to be understood. And that's never as popular.
Right.
You know, the idea of shut up and listen to me never really works anywhere.
Yeah.
And yet that's sometimes what's revealed in our interpersonal relationships when they become very close.
Yeah.
And somebody asked me, so do you have one piece of mental health advice that would be best for all of us? And I said, yes. Seek to understand the other more than be understood. Try to be present, try to hear, because the reciprocal is going to be advanced. If I seek to understand you, truly understand you, and one of the best ways is to paraphrase after you've said what you need to say to make sure I got it right. And if I'm close, that's all that's needed. Then the reciprocal is true. You're going to want to seek to understand me, and then we have a much more harmonious relationship. But what you're going to find in these relationships, in this intense community that we're living in, you're going to find things revealed. Write them down. They become the subject of your work. This whole thing is, if I were to summarize this whole experience, we have shifted from an external focus where the cars in the driveway, the bank accounts, our braggadocious rights, what other people think of us, that has shifted now to what we think. What do we think about the future? What do we think about what I'm going through? It becomes an internal game. We got to find the hero inside of us. We got to find the comforter inside of us. It becomes an internal game, not an external game. The external is out of our control and it's full of uncertainty. But the internal game should not be so uncertain. That's where faith comes in. That's where tuning up our game in life, our communication,
right,
our verifiableness, discriminatory things. We need to discriminate much more between commentary and news. There's a lot of internal things that we can go through. So
John, just to summarize on that, it sounds like what you're saying in terms of your hope is not to see us just move on from this or to get on the other side of this.
Right.
I think your hope, as I'm hearing it, is to embrace this, to learn from this, and to move with it, as opposed to, I just need to get on the other side of it and I'm done with it. But there's really some value here that not only for us individually and our families, but for the world, if we embrace this time.
Well, we're going to look back at this in history, not you and I, but we're going to look back at this in history of humanity. This is going to be right up there with the dinosaurs and the Ice Age and the Great Flood and some of the other great events of the life. This is a one-off event. And remember, as your listeners and viewers, there are no experts. An expert is somebody who's been through these things and can advise you on the other side. No one has ever been through what we're going through right now. So don't look for experts. Don't be looking for leadership because you're going to be disappointed. At this time of the inner game, you're going to have to be the expert. You're going to have to be the wiser. You're going to have to be the comforter. You're going to have to find the leader within. And so we want to develop those capacities. And I hope you never get through this. I hope you always take from this a certain maturity, a certain wisdom, a certain experience that helps you weather the next big issue coming along.
John, thank you for your time. This has been great.
Thank you so much, Sean.